Somewhere in the thick August heat of Cleveland training camp, a quiet storm is brewing. No dramatic entrances. No viral TikToks. Just clean footwork, laser throws, and the kind of poise you'd expect from someone twice his age. And yet, if you glance at the Browns' depth chart, you might miss a name altogether. But make no mistake, Shedeur Sanders is absolutely turning heads. If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed. While the media circus continues to orbit around Joe Flacco's veteran presence and Dillon Gabriel's rookie learning curve, there's a third name starting to echo in hushed tones across the practice field. Shedeur, son of primetime himself, has slipped into the NFL with far less fanfare than one might expect, especially considering his last name. But that low profile, it might be his biggest advantage. Because while the Browns continue their decades-long quarterback shuffle, like a game of musical chairs that never quite lands on the right guy, Shedeur is quietly doing the most dangerous thing a third-string QB can do: impress without expectation. Let's rewind for a second. When Shedeur entered the league, the headlines were polite at best. Solid fundamentals, NFL bloodline, a project worth watching, that sort of thing. He wasn't taken seriously as a Week 1 starter, and honestly, fair enough. The Browns had just won a bizarre QB lottery by dragging Joe Flacco out of semi-retirement last year, who then, somehow, gave them one of the most meme-worthy comebacks in NFL memory. Joe's 39, Super Bowl ring in the bag, and running strictly on veteran brain cells at this point. But hey, it worked. Sort of. Behind him, Dillon Gabriel, Oklahoma gunslinger with raw tools, a strong arm, and a habit of panicking when edge rushers start breathing down his neck. The Browns saw potential. He's young, teachable, and let's be real, he looks like a franchise quarterback if you squint. And then there's Shedeur, lurking in the shadows like a well-dressed intern who just might steal your job. The thing is, Shedeur's not just surviving these practices. He's growing, fast. And while he's not doing it with flashy scrambles or bomb throws down the sideline, he is doing it with something that's way harder to teach: control. Every day at training camp, while the cameras chase Flacco's locker room soundbites or try to capture Gabriel's development arc, Shedeur is putting in clean, efficient reps that scream veteran savvy. Tight mechanics, smart decisions, minimal mistakes. Basically, the anti-Browns QB, if you're familiar with the franchise's creative history at the position. And let's not pretend this is happening in a vacuum. Shedeur's reps are coming against some serious defensive firepower. Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, Grant Delpit. These are not friendly sparring partners. This is trial by fire, and somehow Shedeur is walking away unscathed, sometimes even sharper than before. You don't survive that kind of heat without learning something, or revealing who you really are. Now, is he out there launching 60-yard bombs into triple coverage and flexing on DBs? No, and that's exactly why coaches are watching. He's not forcing plays. He's not pressing. He's just operating, smoothly, calmly, with that slightly unnerving confidence of a guy who knows he's playing the long game. And we need to talk about the Isaiah Bond connection. There's always that one practice bromance that turns into something real. For Shedeur, it's Bond. The chemistry between them has been hard to ignore. Short routes, deep sideline work, tight window throws, it's clicking. And when chemistry like that starts brewing between two young players who aren't even supposed to be the main guys yet, that's the kind of subplot that keeps QB coaches up at night. Now, obviously, nobody's crowning Shedeur Sanders the next face of the franchise. Not yet. He's still listed as third string. He's still technically developing. But come on, this is Cleveland. This team has had over 30 different starting quarterbacks in the last 20 years. That's not a stat. It's a cry for help. So when anyone, starts showing signs of actual, consistent, repeatable quarterback behavior, you take notice. Especially when it's coming from someone who wasn't even in the conversation. And let's be honest, Joe Flacco is not the future. He's a stopgap. A talented, experienced, lovable stopgap. But he's 39, he's been through 3 franchises, and every time he rolls out of the pocket, it looks like it physically pains him. His arm? Still decent. His mind? Razor sharp. But Father Time is knocking louder every week, and no amount of savvy can stop what's coming. Dylan Gabriel? Still figuring it out. He flashes talent, sure, but looks overwhelmed more often than not. His processing speed is a work in progress, and while that's normal for a rookie, it doesn't exactly scream plug-and-play savior, which leaves us with Sanders, the unassuming sleeper, the guy quietly stacking good days like poker chips. He's not yelling for attention. He's earning it, and the coaches, they're starting to whisper. Whispers like, he's further along than we thought. Whispers like, he might have the best mechanics of the group. You can only ignore those whispers for so long. It's almost poetic. After years of overhyped draft picks, journeyman signings, and last-minute quarterback auditions that led nowhere, the Browns might have stumbled onto something real by accident. Not with a first-round phenom, not with a blockbuster trade, but with a quiet, calculated prospect whose last name may scream prime time, but whose approach is all business. And you can feel it building. There's gonna come a day, maybe in week 7, maybe in the preseason closer, maybe in some late-season desperation switch, when Shedeur gets meaningful snaps. And when he does, the narrative's going to change. Fast. Because that's the thing about quarterbacks like this. They lurk in the shadows until the moment's too big for someone else. And then they don't blink. They just play. Clean. Sharp. Unbothered. And suddenly, you're watching a rookie dismantle a veteran defense and wondering, how the hell did we not see this coming? So let's not be shocked when the Browns' quarterback room starts feeling a little cramped. Let's not act surprised when Flacco's leash gets a little shorter and Gabriel starts getting fewer second-team reps. Let's not pretend we didn't see the signs. Because if Shedeur keeps this up, and honestly, there's no reason to think he won't, Cleveland's about to have a very interesting problem. A future-the-franchise kind of problem. And look, we're not saying he's the next Mahomes. We're not even saying he's guaranteed to start this season. But if you've been paying attention, and we mean really paying attention, you've probably noticed what the coaches are starting to notice. Shedeur Sanders has something. Maybe it's the discipline. Maybe it's the footwork. Maybe it's just the vibe. But whatever it is, it doesn't feel like a fluke. It feels like potential finally finding the right environment. And in a city that's been starving for QB stability for literal decades, that potential feels electric. So here's your takeaway, Cleveland fans. Don't sleep on the third stringer. Don't ignore the guy quietly cooking defenders during solo drills. Don't brush off the growing whispers in the locker room, because Shedeur Sanders might just be the calm before the quarterback storm. And when the dust finally settles, you might realize the Browns' next franchise QB was already standing there, clipboard in hand, waiting for the moment everyone else stopped looking. Moral of the story? Sometimes the guy with the loudest highlight reel isn't the one who lasts. Sometimes greatness doesn't arrive with fireworks. It shows up early to practice, gets the reps in, and keeps receipts. So if you're watching Browns camp and wondering where the real drama is coming from this year, don't look at the top of the depth chart. Look just a little lower. And keep your eyes on Shedeur Sanders. Let me know in the comments. Do you think he's a hidden gem Cleveland's been missing? Or just another preseason mirage? Either way, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next meltdown, breakout, or quarterback shuffle, because you know we'll be here to break it all down. Let's start with the energy. The vibe, if you will. If you've ever watched a quarterback try to survive training camp while sitting at the bottom of the depth chart, you know the look. It's a combination of nervous sweat, fake confidence, and that twitchy, eager-to-please energy that screams, "Please notice me, coach." But Shedeur, he's got something different. This isn't a guy clawing for relevance. This is a guy who looks like he's already been here before. And not in a daddy's legacy got me in the door way. No, in a gimme 2 quarters and I'll prove I'm better than both of them way. It's that terrifyingly calm energy that coaches love and insecure starters absolutely hate. What's wild is that this entire dynamic is happening without the fan base really noticing yet. There aren't trending hashtags, no screaming fans in customized jerseys, no desperate TikToks from Shedeur's camp trying to go viral. It's quiet, intentionally quiet. But that kind of silence, that's how storms start. Let's get into the psychological warfare side of this. Imagine you're Dylan Gabriel. You're the rookie with draft pedigree, fresh off a college career that was built on explosive moments and highlight reel plays. You show up to camp expecting to compete for the backup role behind Flacco, or maybe even push him if he starts throwing ducks by midseason. And then there's this other guy. He's not louder than you. He's not faster. He doesn't have the flashiest throws. But day after day, you hear the same thing from coaches. Shedeur is really consistent right now. Shedeur made all the right reads in that drill. Shedeur's ball placement is textbook. And suddenly you're pressing. You're trying too hard to force a big throw. You start hesitating before your release. And all the while, Sanders just keeps stacking clean reps, like clockwork. It's slow erosion, a confidence killer. Because the worst kind of threat isn't the guy who shows up trying to win the job. It's the one who acts like it's already his and just hasn't been announced yet. And let's not act like this QB drama exists in a vacuum. This is the Cleveland Browns we're talking about. A franchise with quarterback baggage so heavy, it could sink a yacht. This is the same team that turned names like Deshaun Kaiser, Johnny Manziel, and Brandon Whedon into weekly punchlines. The same team that somehow managed to get a perfectly decent QB room and still make it feel like a liability. So the idea that this franchise could be sitting on a sleeping giant without realizing it, that feels a little too on brand. But here's where things get really fun. What happens if, and this is a big if, Flacco starts to decline? Let's be honest. We all love Joe for what he did last year. The man got off the couch and gave the Browns life during a season that looked DOA. But expecting that same miracle in back-to-back seasons? That's asking a lot from a 39-year-old QB who's basically running on memory foam and pre-snap vision. He might make it through the season. He might not. But the moment that arm starts to dip below serviceable veteran territory, that QB2 job becomes very interesting. And right now, Gabriel looks like he's still trying to memorize the playbook, while Shedeur is running it in his sleep. The team hasn't said it yet, but you can feel it coming. All it takes is one preseason spark. One drive where Shedeur goes 6 for 6, hits a tight window touchdown, and shrugs it off like it was a walkthrough. You put that on tape, the fans are going to lose it, because the Browns have seen erratic QBs. They've seen loud ones, fragile ones, overhyped ones. What they haven't seen in years is a quarterback who just looks right. And that's Shedeur's whole game. He looks right. Like a puzzle piece finally fitting into a franchise that's been trying to jam in the wrong ones for 2 decades. Let's talk growth for a second. It's easy to forget that this is a rookie. Sanders is adapting to NFL speed, dealing with NFL pressure, and going against some of the best defenders in the league. And not only is he surviving, he's getting better. Fast. His footwork, sharper every week. His reads, faster. His decisions, cleaner. His mechanics, already some of the best in the room. This isn't some flash-in-the-pan camp story. This is a guy showing actual signs of trajectory. And for a team that desperately needs someone to take the reins after Flacco, that's not just hopeful, it's dangerous. Because once fans start seeing it, once the buzz starts leaking from practice into the press box, it's over. And then there's the unspoken factor, Deion Sanders. Now, let's be real. Shedeur's dad is not involved in the Browns organization. He's not making calls. He's not in meetings. But you can't ignore the DNA here. Shedeur didn't just learn football. He was raised in a film room. He was taught how to carry himself like a leader before he ever threw a college pass. That kind of grooming matters, especially in a league where confidence can evaporate in a single week. And ironically, by not carrying himself like a diva QB son of a legend, Shedeur has made himself way more likable. He's got the polish without the ego, the skills without the showboating. That's lethal. Now let's talk about what could happen next. And buckle up because it's spicy. Let's say the Browns start the season 2-3. Flacco's solid but not spectacular. Gabriel's still developing, throwing picks when he gets cleanup reps. Then one week, Flacco tweaks a hamstring. It's nothing major, But he's out. The team could roll with Gabriel. But do they trust him to keep the season afloat? Or do they hand the keys to Shedeur and see what happens? And the second that happens, even if it's just a single quarter of real game action, everything changes. If he balls out, if he shows command of the offense under pressure, there's no going back. Suddenly, it's his job to lose. And that's when we hit full soap opera mode. The press goes wild. Fans start buying his jersey. Sports talk shows start playing the "Is Shedeur the future Cleveland?" montage 3 times a day. Gabriel gets iced. Flacco awkwardly becomes a mentoring vet. And just like that, the Browns stumble into a quarterback transition they didn't plan, but desperately needed. The memes write themselves. The prince that was promised. QB number 31, the final one. Shedeur, from clipboard to crown. And look, maybe that's all fantasy. Maybe he rides a bench this year and becomes trade bait later. Maybe Flacco pulls off one last season of dad magic, and everyone forgets about the quiet kid in the background. But if you're watching, really watching, it's getting harder and harder to ignore what's happening in that locker room. Shedeur Sanders isn't just a fun preseason story. He's a chess piece. And the Browns? They might just be 2 bad drives away from flipping the board entirely. So here's your challenge, Cleveland fans. Stay awake. Stay locked in. Because the moment this guy steps on a real NFL field, it might be too late to call him a sleeper. And let's be honest, wouldn't it be the most Browns thing ever to finally find their guy? Buried as a third stringer? Shedeur isn't asking for your attention. He's just quietly preparing to earn it. We've already watched the slow burn build of Shedeur Sanders, the unexpected calm in Cleveland's quarterback chaos. The guy's been slipping under the radar, all mechanics and maturity, surrounded by chaos and quarterback corpses in the Browns' graveyard of failed franchise guys. But here's where the plot starts to simmer, because while everyone else is clocking headlines, Shedeur is clocking reps, quiet reps, reps that in the moment look unassuming, but then you start to notice something. The offense just runs smoother when he's in. It's subtle at first. One well-placed throw on a slant route, a clean pocket escape that turns into a first down, then a quick audible adjustment before the snap that leads to a perfectly executed screen. You catch yourself thinking, wait, why does this feel so normal? Which, if you're a Browns fan, is deeply suspicious. Because when has normal ever been a thing? Let's talk about the body language for a second. Joe Flacco? He's got that classic vet swagger, the slow walk, the no-nonsense stares, the "I've seen it all" energy. But sometimes it leans more toward, "I'm just here so I don't get hit." Gabriel? Classic rookie twitch. Bouncing in his cleats, scanning the sideline like he's trying to decode hieroglyphics. You want to root for him, but you also want to wrap him in bubble wrap and give him a clipboard. And Shedeur? He's got that middle child of destiny vibe. Not the oldest, not the baby, just quietly becoming the favorite while nobody's paying attention. Every time he steps under center, there's this sense that he's exactly where he wants to be. No panic, no extra movement. Just quiet confidence. That's not luck. That's reps meets readiness. And the defense? They're starting to notice. You think Myles Garrett gives compliments for free? You think Denzel Ward is out here clapping for third-string QBs unless they've earned it? These guys are competitors. Predators. They can smell hesitation. They feed on bad decision-making. But you know what they respect? Someone who doesn't flinch. Someone who can stare down the barrel of an elite defensive line and still hit the check down. Someone who doesn't take the bait when the secondary baits a throw. Someone who takes what's there every time without getting greedy. That's Shedeur right now. And it's starting to create tension. Because let's be honest, NFL locker rooms aren't exactly democracy havens. They run on respect. And once enough players start believing a guy should be taking reps, coaches start to feel that pressure too. That's when things get complicated. Now imagine this. It's late October. The Browns are 3-4. Not a disaster, but far from dominant. Flacco's been okay, but his limitations are starting to show. Short throws. No mobility. The playbook looks like it's been on a diet. Every game is a grind. Fans are murmuring. Media's speculating. And then it leaks. Coach is impressed with Shedeur's progression in private film sessions. Boom. It's over. That's how it starts. Then maybe Flacco throws a couple of picks in a primetime game. Twitter lights up. Instagram reels start cutting together Shedeur's best practice throws with dramatic trap music. The Free Shedeur movement is born. Gabriel's name isn't even trending anymore. And suddenly, every question in every press conference sounds like a countdown. Is Shedeur ready? Do you see him competing for QB1 if needed? Has he earned a look with the first team? The dam breaks. The coaches crack. And for the first time, Shedeur Sanders is told, "You're up. Now pause." Let's sit in that moment for a second. The stadium is packed. It's cold, loud. The Browns are down by 4. The fans are both excited and terrified. The announcers are salivating. And Shedeur? He jogs onto the field like it's just another rep. No nerves. No showboating. Just him and the moment. Now, if this were a movie, he'd throw a 50-yard bomb on the first play, and the crowd would go wild. But this isn't a movie. It's Cleveland. It's gritty, ugly, real. So instead, he dinks and dunks. Short pass, check down, slant, first down, audible, play action, another first down. The drive is surgical. It's not sexy, it's controlled. And when he finally gets into the red zone, he hits Bond on a back shoulder fade in perfect rhythm. Touchdown. That's it. One drive, one moment. And suddenly, everything changes. You think the fans are going to forget that? You think the players are going to pretend it didn't happen? You think the coaching staff is going to stick to the depth chart after watching that unfold in real time? Absolutely not. And now Shedeur's got the one thing that changes everything: leverage. From here on out, every snap he takes carries weight. Every throw is a referendum. Every post-game presser is a chess move. Because if he keeps playing clean, if he keeps showing command, if he wins, it's over for the other guys. Gabriel? Practice squad at best. Flacco? The wise old sage bench again. And let's not forget the optics. The Browns haven't developed a true franchise QB since. Tim Couch? Depending on how charitable you're feeling. So to finally draft and develop one in-house, one who's composed, mechanically sound, and who doesn't turn the ball over like it's a hot potato, that's a PR dream. Suddenly the jerseys are flying off the shelves. National media starts catching up. First Take runs a whole segment titled, "Did the Browns just accidentally solve their QB curse?" Colin Cowherd's try and compare him to Tom Brady. Skip Bayless is calling him underrated with upside. Twitter goes feral. And here's the real kicker. Shedeur won't say a word. He won't tweet a victory lap. He won't post a dramatic Instagram caption. He'll just keep showing up at practice, throwing darts, and winning the room. Because that's who he's been this whole time. He's not a storyline. He's not a hype merchant. He's just a football player with extremely dangerous patience. And the Browns? They might have just backed into a miracle. Because sometimes greatness doesn't need a big entrance. Sometimes it walks in quietly, takes a number, and waits for the chaos to collapse. So now the only question is, how long can they keep him hidden? Because with every clean drive, every composed decision, every post-practice whisper, the secret gets harder to keep. And the more you try to hold back someone who's clearly ready, the bigger the eruption when he finally gets loose. So here's your final warning. Don't sleep on Shedeur Sanders. Don't let the third-string label fool you. Don't think this guy's content with clipboard duty. He's already planning the takeover. And when it happens, you look back on those training camp clips, those untelevised reps, those quiet practice whispers, and realize he was never the backup. He was just waiting for the signal.